You are listening to Basement Chronicles with Lisa Dublin, episode number 44. What is authenticity? Hey, you made it! Welcome to my basement. I'm Lisa Dublin, a health and life coach, and I help professional and executive women to live, lead, and speak with confidence. Because you know what? Developing your confidence and deepening your faith in God is the best formula for an amazing life. So, are you ready? Let's go. Hey, podcast listeners, how is everybody doing? Yesterday, I went to a networking event and I met a friend of mine who I had met at a previous networking event because, your girl is doing lots of networking events these days because I realized the saying that if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go with other people. It is very true. So I'm out and about in Edmonton, meeting my community, seeing how I can be of service, making friends, first of all, and all of that. So this person and we met at a second networking event, and in the space of a week. And she said that I am deeply authentic and that is why people are drawn to me. And I was so grateful, for the compliment. And it's the way she said it with such feeling. I think that she really meant it. And it made me curious about what it means to be authentic. What is authenticity to you? I'll give you a little moment there to answer. And what is authenticity to me? When I think about it, I think I have two responses. The first one is from C.J. Quinney, Carlos Quinney, and he is like the kingmaker, the person behind Eric Thomas, Toby Agwigwe, also the 95 millionaire. I've spoken about him before and how he seems to have a knack for knowing what works within people and what people out there need from them. So he said this on one of the podcasts that I listened to, the S2S podcast. He says, when you see somebody who has the it factor, it is usually because they are fully comfortable with who they are. Can I say that again for the people in the back? When you see somebody who has the it factor, it is usually because they are fully comfortable with who they are. I love that definition of authenticity. For me, however, maybe mine is a little more poetic. Authenticity for me is a living thing. It's an action. It is to stitch every part of your life with the thread of who you really are. I want to say mine again. Authenticity is the ability to stitch every part of your life with the thread of who you really are. So the stitch that you use, the color that you use, and how you bring it together, that is inherently you. And when you consistently show up as yourself across the gamut of situations and people and opportunities, etc., that we find ourselves in, I believe that person who does it that way has a high level of authenticity. I thought I would begin today with looking at some other quotes about authenticity. Let's have some aha moments before I begin to talk about how you and I can increase our authenticity as professionals, as speakers, and in fact, as human beings. So, have some fun now. Here's this quote from Brené Brown. Authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. Then there's this quote from somebody called Ferdinand Folk. And he says, the most powerful weapon on earth is the soul on fire. I love that saying as well because it speaks about following passion, something that you cannot avoid, that you totally and wholly embrace. Here's another quote from the poet and essayist Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said this, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. And two other quotes, they are anonymous, are such. Authenticity isn't about oversharing. It's about alignment. When your words, actions, and spirit agree, you become unstoppable. Lastly, here's this quote: God does not anoint the mask, He anoints the real you. Wow. Which one resonated with you? Make sure you listen to this podcast again and try to cull and define authenticity for your own self. So let's talk now about how does one increase one's authenticity. The first thing that I want to say is that I notice people who are deeply authentic, they approach the world from the inside out as opposed to looking at the world, deciding what it means, and then adjusting to suit it, which would be looking at the world from the outside in. I am one of those people. I'm not even sure how it happens, except that I've always had a sense of who I am, and I've known that it is okay enough who I am to face the world. And so when situations come, the way that I respond, you can trace a pattern. You can see, okay, that is Lisa's response, so that isn't. You know, I don't mean to make a comparison, but you know who else is deeply authentic? President Donald Trump, right? You would hear something that somebody said he said, and because he's so deeply himself, I am pretty sure you can tell whether that person's report is true or not, because he has consistently been a certain way over the course of many years. And that is what authenticity is about. So if you are here hearing me today and wanting to break out of your shell, to be more of yourself, all of those things to get unstuck, maybe the next part of this podcast is going to help you. I suggest, one, that you listen to this again. And even now, if you don't have the time to, then you can just do the shortcut and write down the points as I go through them. Here's the first thing. Spend quiet time with yourself. Like, I spend a lot of time with myself, okay? Because I wake up very early and it's just me, myself, and I, and God. So here's the first point. Spend quiet time with yourself. And in that time, what you're doing is thinking about you. Who are you? Where do you come from? What do you like to do? What do you hate doing? Now, don't think about your answers in terms of what people think about you or what you should be thinking. I always make that distinction with my clients. A lot of the stress and a lot of the disgust that we have about other people is because we focus on who we think they should be as opposed to who they are. Do the same thing for yourself. When you have that quiet time with you, it's not about who you should be. Face yourself. Write down your thoughts or ask questions and answer yourself in an unfiltered manner. Answer those questions as if no one would ever see the answers and see what you come up with. I've included a sheet, by the way, so that if you're interested in doing this work for yourself, go to the show notes and download the sheet, okay? That was step number 1, which was to spend quiet time finding out who you are. Here is step number 2. Name what's not working in your life. Like, I am asking you to be ruthless in your thoughts with yourself about your life. Stop pretending that you're okay with the things that drain you. Get very honest. Are you saying yes when your spirit says no? Are you over-delivering to be liked or accepted? In those moments when you are doing that self-reflection, let conviction and not condemnation do its work. So it's not a matter of realizing that, oh, I'm a people pleaser, and then spiraling into some kind of depression and, oh, scorched earth kind of philosophy because, nothing's working for me. I'm a mess. I'm a failure. No. You have to hold yourself in high regard enough to know that if you spot some things in you that need changing, you still uphold your value as a human being. You have nothing missing and nothing broken. So the 2 steps so far are spend quiet time with yourself, and secondly, name what is not working. Let's move on. Step number 3, tell the truth to yourself. So you cannot be authentic if you are lying to yourself. Speak truth. I'm scared. I don't know what next to do. I don't really want to do this. I'm tired of this performing thing. I'm not okay with how I am being treated. I don't really love this person. Oh my goodness. This person is not adding any value to my life. Truth is a mirror, so you have to use it, and that is part of being authentic, speaking the truth and then acting upon it. Point number 4 is this: embrace your history without shame. You can't be authentic if you are hiding. I'm not saying that you need to wear your truth on your sleeve for all the world to see. No, that's not what I'm saying. But what you've overcome is part of your authority. Instead of saying, I don't want anyone to know, you can ask the question, what if my testimony is someone else's survival guide? And then perhaps that acceptance would then lead you to the appropriateness of when to share it, how to share it, and how to frame it so that people can get value out of it and you don't just descend into some kind of voyeuristic sharing, which is a lot of the sharing that I find sometimes. Okay, here's the next point, point number 5, about how to be authentic. You know, when you're very authentic, when you align your actions with your values. So I've been going to quite a few conferences and so on, and some of them do not align with my Christian beliefs. And so I know I do have some soul searching to do about what constitutes a thing that I want to attend, what I want to support, all of those things, because you are most authentic when you align your actions with your values. And here's one way to do it. List your top 10 values, right? And then ask, does how I speak, work, dress, and show up reflect those values? And you can even take it a step further. Out of the 10 values that you recognize and identify as being your top 10, then take out the top 3, identify the top 3 values. And if you are not living most of your life by those values, then it is time for you to recalibrate, to take some time to reflect, and to make a plan to align your values with your life. So, for example, if family is a value for you, and you find that you have not been spending time with your kids or with your partner, then you need to recalibrate. Because it's not a matter of, maybe it really isn't a value. It could just be that you need to adjust and you need to put things in place to return to what felt really true and sincere for you. Sometimes too, I remember once I did this exercise with a client and she was recently divorced. And when we did the exercise and we looked at her top 10, marriage and family were not even in the top 10. And so she used the exercise as a way of seeing herself and was quite taken aback. And, we proceeded to explore what it meant, that she was divorced, didn't go too well, and it was that this had never seemed to be a value for her. That's what she expressed, that no, it has never been a value. So we had to do some soul searching there. I suggest you do the same. Here's another point, and this one is especially for people who speak for a living or who have to speak a lot in professional settings. Speak from your heart. It doesn't mean that you have to use slang. It doesn't mean that your accent has to have the twang. Nothing of the sort. Speaking from the heart means that you say what you mean and you mean what you say. Not every message needs polish, but every message needs fire. So drop the jargon. Let your tone match your conviction. Authenticity as a speaker, and I'm very passionate about this, it means that you sound consistently like yourself, not as a copy of the norm. That is boring as hell. Here's the last point where authenticity is concerned. Many people hide, many people mask, their true selves because they know that people might not like the real them. Some people are super polite, but the moment they feel comfortable in dropping the mask, you realize this is a straight shooter. This is a black and white person. And if you can create the environment where they can be themselves, and still be nice, yes, but they are truly themselves, then you really get an authentic experience with somebody else. Why don't you just go ahead and be yourself? Why don't you just go ahead and be your full self? And the way that you do that and give yourself the room to be that is to accept that not everybody is going to like the real you. And that's okay. You know why? Because you don't like the real of other people anyway. You don't like everybody you meet, especially those who are deeply authentic. So let that be your story as well. And it's a great place to be because when you find followers, when you find your tribe, you find true believers. And that's who you want to come along in this world with you. So the test where this last point is concerned is this. Can you be okay with being misunderstood, unliked, disliked, or passed over? Can you still be grounded in who God made you to be and be okay that lots of people don't like that? Now, of course, being authentic does not mean that you are giving the unvarnished and unfiltered truth. Oh my goodness, unless you are talking to a tree and not to human beings, then that's okay. But if in the normal, gate of conversation, you are speaking to human beings, in spite of being very pragmatic or being a straight shooter and all of that, you still need to apply kindness and grace and just putting yourself in other people's shoes when you speak to them and when you treat them a certain way because you are a human being. In fact, if I may end this podcast by saying, being a human being is your most authentic self. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds good. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next podcast. Bye. Thank you so much for listening today. Now, I know that you prioritize your growth and success. So if you feel stuck in any area of your life, why don't you consider life coaching? My signature program, How to Get Unstuck Total Transformation, has helped so many professional and executive women to free themselves of limiting beliefs and habits, learn to love and prioritize themselves, set firm boundaries and stick to them, be more confident, move up exponentially in their careers, and become the best versions of themselves. How badly do you want to get unstuck? How badly do you want to be the best version of you? If you desire more, take the first step right now. Go to my website, lisamdublin.com/coaching and book a consultation with me. Let's talk about your coaching needs because the life you want is totally possible.